Yeah.
Hang on a second, I'll unplug.
That's better. That was better.
Okay, we are live. Welcome everyone to a meeting of the full council of Barnoldswick Town Council. Everyone on here, should we do introductions? Might be some new people watching. Yeah. I'll start from my top left on my screen then, Joe.
I'm Joe Deldard, I'm the clerk to the council.
I'm Tom Whip, I'm the chairman of Barnoldswick Town Council and chairing this meeting here tonight. Next person, David Whip.
David Whip, councillor.
Ken.
Ken Hartley, Cravenwell Council.
Mike. You are muted, Mike. This is a
20's most popular catchphrase. I'm Mike, I'm at Barnoldswick Town Council.
Fab. Chris. Oh, we can't hear you, Chris.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good, thank you. Chris Church, Barnoldswick Town Council.
This is more of a mic check than introductions, really, isn't it?
It is really, yes.
John.
John Rose Parker, councillor.
Thank you. Emma.
Emma West, vice chair.
Awesome. Jodie.
Jodie Hoyle, councillor.
Marjorie.
Marjorie Adams, councillor.
And last but not least, Jane.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Jane Mills, Coates Ward, councillor.
Okay, we can hear everyone. Now for the people that aren't here and can't introduce themselves, Joe, could you do apologies, please?
Yeah, we've got apologies from Lindsay Gaskell and Mike Pearce.
Thank you very much. Item 2 then, declarations of interest. Does anyone have a prejudicial pecuniary interest that they would like to declare at tonight's meeting?
No, Chair.
No, that's all fine,
No.
thank you. Item 3 then, open forum. We don't currently have any questions from the public in the live stream chat, that's live. If you do have any questions for the council, now's the time to ask them in the live stream chat. We'll give a couple of seconds for things to come through. In the meantime, Joe, do we have any on notice through email?
No, nothing.
Nothing, okay. I'll give a second for people if they do want to say. Okay, there's nothing been said. I'm sure if there's something, we'll find time between an item later in the meeting. Next then, item 4 is minutes of the last meeting. Has everyone read them? Anyone have any corrections to be made? Is everyone happy they're a correct record? Councillor David Whip, is that you saying they're fine?
I mean, I was nodding in yes, in a sense.
That's you moving the minutes. Do we have a second?
Okay, I'll move them.
Thank you, Councillor Whittingham. Everyone happy with that? Stick your hand up, nod, whatever. Good stuff, thank you. Item 5 then is minutes from committees and working groups. So we've got one on here, general purposes. Councillor Whip, you chair the General Purposes Committee. And you got your hand up, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Can I move the minutes? I don't think there's very much to pick up on them, apart from one item, which is the last thing. There's a recommendation in here which is raised in another part of the agenda, and also there's some information in terms of fencing down at Victory Park, which again we can pick up in another item on the agenda tonight. The one item which isn't referred to elsewhere on the agenda is the item about reopening the safe opening of town centres, and the very last minute, or second to the last minute, talks about looking at Shorkle, which is an online delivery system. And this is something, Chairman, that you've been dealing with. And as far as I'm aware, you know, they're willing to look at Barnoldswick and indeed Earby as places that would be part of their programme. There isn't any upfront costs, but they do take a percentage of sales. And I think you're going to be putting that to retailers, not only in Barnoldswick, but across West Craven, to see if there's any interest in that. The particular item that I think you, Chairman, together with yourself, are getting extremely frustrated about is a proposal to provide some temporary cover for people to be able to queue in safety when they shop in the town centre. And the proposal as worked up was for, well, initially we were looking at hiring in some marquees, but that proved to be quite expensive. So the latest proposal was to buy some relatively cheap and cheerful covers that could provide that queuing space. So there was a little bit more work done on that. And then we were told that that wouldn't qualify for the European funding and that it was out of scope. So we're rather scratching our heads as to what exactly we can use this funding for, because it seems that, you know, either it's catered for on a no-cost basis, or we're not allowed to do it. So, Chairman, we are taking advice as to what we could use that funding for. At least part of it has to be used by 31st of March. So it's not like it can run into future financial years. And I mean, it may be there is some revenue funding from Pendle Council that could be used to provide the covers, but then that limits us options in other ways. So despite the fact that there's quite a lot of effort being put into this, we're not getting anywhere very fast. And people, like members of the council, need to be aware that that's the position. But I move the minutes as they stand.
Thank you. Just on the marquees, I mean, it occurs to me that we might not be able to fund them from the ERDF funding, but we do have a backing Barnoldswick budget. I mean, we've recently acquired some more storage space, so if we're to get it ourselves, there'll be somewhere to put them. If we buy them ourselves as well, we could also get them branded, have the Barnoldswick Town Council logo on the sides or something, which wouldn't be an option if we were getting it through the European funding. So, I mean, I'd just like to get views on that, if that's an option people want to go down, if they think it's worth it getting the cover on the streets. Anyone?
I suppose it's worth looking at.
Go ahead, Mike.
Just saying, I suppose it's worth looking into for sure.
Well, we have already measured up, and we know how many we need and what we need and what sizes. So it's definitely doable, and that's the work that Councillor Whip was referring to earlier.
Costings?
Are they not going to be the same as we already own, Tom?
Yeah. I mean, we can substitute some of them for the ones we already have, probably.
Why don't we use the ones we've already got?
well, we don't have enough for a start.
All right, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Jane, you had your hand up. You are muted. You're still muted, Jane.
Right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, good. Sorry. I think it's worth looking into. Are we looking on that extended pavement at the bottom of Albert Road? Is that the section that we're looking at? Is it just that one only section?
Councillor Whip, I think you want to come in on this.
Well, just to respond to that, Albert Road is the main street where it can be done because of the width of the pavement on that central section, but also it would work outside Barlett Bites and is Usmania, and it would work outside the Thai takeaway and Chef's Pantry if we accepted that we lost one parking space temporarily. That's entirely doable. The only other pavement in Barlick where it would fit is on the top side of Rainhall Road, but there are problems there in that you couldn't do it outside the chemists and the opticians because of the street furniture and the ramp, and so that one doesn't work. So there's limited options up on Rainhall Road, and in terms of the number of pop-ups that would be needed, I think we reckoned it was something like 10 to be able to do the different bits and bats. We've canvassed opinion from some shopkeepers, not all, and they're generally quite enthusiastic for that to happen. There's one shopkeeper, one business that they didn't think it would be of any benefit. So, I think the way that we planned it out, that one could be either done or not done, depending on circumstances. But generally, it works quite well. I mean, I forget how much Joe priced these up at in terms of a frame and a roof, which is really all that would be needed.
And the ballast.
And then
which would need to be customised to fit the pavements.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping Mike Pierce might help with a little bit of advice on how we could construct a plate that would sort of have some ballast on it. Tap into his engineering experience, really. Memory tells me, and Joe's going to shoot me down in a minute because I can see it looking the figures up, but memory tells me, £350 a piece. So you're looking at 3.5.
If it's just got a logo right across the front of it, that's £89 extra. And then the actual pop-ups for a 3x3 is 319. That includes the VAT though, I think. And then for a 3x6, it's 499.
Right, it's a bit more than I expected then. But I mean, we might get them cheaper, but you'd be looking at predominantly the 6 metres by 3 metres.
Councillor Church.
Can I ask, are we going to have much use for these after the current situation?
Sorry, I can't quite make out what you're saying.
Sorry,
just move your mic a bit closer.
am I having sound problems again? Would we be able to make good use of these or good value for money after the current situation has changed, assuming it's going to at some point? That at this time of year, it's December now, we're 3 or 4 months off spring. I'm all in favour of helping where we can in these places, but it's going to be effective for a very short time, or likely. I know the weather cannot be predicted. So are these going to come to some use for us afterwards?
I mean, I certainly think that yes, they will. We've used them sparsely at the market, and I've definitely felt a desire from Duncan, who runs our markets, that he would like to use the pop-ups for that. This would definitely help if they wanted them. Such as events, Bands on the Square, we use the entirety of our pop-up stock in its current form. Whether we could replace, yeah, exactly. I mean, it depends on the wear and tear, how they come out of the winter like. I mean, we never left one up permanently over a long period of time. We don't know if they stand up to the elements. Intuition tells me they would. I mean, they're properly manufactured, but yeah. So in order of hands, we've got Jane. Do you want to come back in again?
Thank you, Chairman. What I was thinking regarding reintroducing the town centre again, it was something I mentioned a while ago. If we're going to have logos perhaps on the pop-ups, is there anything we could look to do to try and put a little bit more colour into the town from the lampposts, with having banners on the lampposts? I think it looks, a little bit more attractive, gives, it'll give the centre a nice feel to it, but it's just an added extra on to kind of match in with the pop-ups as a possibility. Thank you.
Well, should we put that question forward to our contact for the ERDF funding and see if that's covered? Looking at David, is that, yeah? Because I think some other towns have used that funding for that, or maybe some other funding.
Chairman, I was just going to comment about the pop-ups themselves and the possible use in the future. I mean, I think we'd end up with, I mean, I know we can always use another couple. I think 10 would be well above our normal requirements for events that we currently have. And so you'd have more of that. If it was being funded from the ERDF, which is supposed to be for, single use, not, over a period of years, I wouldn't be too concerned at using them. And if we don't need them again for 10 years, then fine, fair enough. And, if we can store them, but I think we would have to accept that, for all intents and purposes, they would be more single use. And if we got additional use out of them in the future, that's a bonus rather than a given. And for my part, I wouldn't be bothered about branding them. I'd save the 90 quid a piece for, just sort of having a plain white top, to be honest. But that's, I mean, I'm not precious about that at all.
Okay. Councillor Hartley.
Hi, Chairman. Thank you very much. I see a fairly regular use for those with the frequency that we do events. I think they'd be highly useful for the Valley Gardens Fair and the Kite Festival. It will also open up perhaps even different venues for various things if we could use them, say, for instance, at Lecliff Park or whatever. I think that there are many uses for those additional, and certainly support the project to go ahead and get them sooner the better as winter sets in. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Parker.
Just out of interest, how many people are you expecting to be able to queue under these? Because we're not supposed to be having people congregate and group together, and in bad weather, that's exactly what we're going to be doing, isn't it? They're going to be people going to be huddling together under these.
Well, the thinking is they're currently huddling together in bad weather conditions under the smaller whatever you call the roofs that come down.
Awnings, yeah.
Yes, those. And there's a lot less space, and they're huddling closer together than they would be if they had the pop-ups. So it's a betterment, not a full-blown solution, really.
Okay, no, I understand it's better than what they've got now, but again, we're going to be promoting it, and we're not in a position to be promoting people getting together. So giving people the chance, or saying, here's this, use it, please, huddle under it, and we're actually making people use them more, or we're condoning these people gathering in a place where they shouldn't be gathering.
Councillor Whittingham.
Yeah, pretty much mirror what John was going to say there about how do we manage social distancing, but on another aspect as well, thinking about these marquees and the being there for quite some time, how are we going to manage things like vandalism, because that's bound to happen with them being left alone, certainly overnight.
Councillor Whip.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the issue is that a lot of businesses are seeing very little trade on days when it's bad weather. So, part of the thinking behind providing shelter for people to queue in is that those businesses that, when it's wet, will perhaps have better or fewer bad weather days than they are at present, which I think is a bonus. In terms of vandalism, you just keep on top of it. I always marvel at the amount of stuff that we put out. It gets left for months and months and months and never gets touched. And, when there is vandalism, it's more the exception rather than the rule. And I'd quote the temporary barge, the canal boat that we put out in 2016, and that was quite a flimsy affair. It was only supposed to be there for 4 months, and it lasted for 4 years, and there was stuff on it that had some intrinsic value, like the sort of enameled jugs and things like that. Never touched. So I don't think that vandalism is a big issue. And if there is vandalism, you address it straight away, and it's much less likely to be repeated.
Councillor Mills. You're muted.
One sec, it's not easy on a laptop. Okay, well, from what I've seen going into town, I think the Barnoldswick people and locals around, I actually think they're very, very good at social distancing. I've seen people queuing outside the shops, the fish shop, the bread shop, takeaways, and I haven't had a problem. I haven't seen anything that makes me feel that people are going to do anything different. So yes, we're in tier 3. But I think having pop-ups would enable people to hang around in the town square a little bit more, whether they're queuing to get their takeaway, where if there's space available, they might even eat the takeaway underneath the pop-up or whatever. If there's not many people hanging around, you don't know. But I think what we're trying to do is, should these cafes and whatnot open, we need to be doing something, you know, even in bad weather. If we can have an outside space, people will social distance, and I would imagine they will keep to their bubbles. You know, they want to go out and meet the friends or whatever. If, you know, if the tier does change, which, you know, it's got every chance to do. So I think we need to be looking forward to providing whatever help we can to the businesses to keep them going. Thank you.
I think the key bit here is if we don't get them ordered soon, they're going to arrive after winter, and then there's no point having them. So it's either
Using
get
the
them now or don't, in my opinion.
Are we using the existing ones we've already got?
I would say yes. Use our existing stock and just buy extra that we need in addition to.
Right, okay. So how many do we need?
Well, we'll figure that out, I guess.
No, because you need a vote on whether people are happy to spend it, so they
Yeah.
need to have an idea how much it is.
Okay.
You ready?
John?
We just do a trial perhaps with the ones that we have and see how that runs for a little while before we commit to buying, you know, spend a lot of money on more. You know, see how well they get used and see, you know, see how it works. Because it's a large outlay otherwise, isn't it? To find out that they aren't being used or they don't work properly or whatever.
Jen? Or is that an old hand?
No, thank you, Ken.
Okay. Ken,
I'm
go on.
going to go ahead and propose that we buy 10 more. We'll go identified. Yeah. A straightforward proposal that we purchase 10 more logo identified pop-ups for use initially in the town square and subsequently for any other event that we might find them useful. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hartley. Do we have a seconder for that proposal?
Chairman, I would second a proposal to take our total stock up to 10. So that we've
Councillor
got...
Hartley, are you happy to amend your proposal? Or?
Yeah, I'll accept that as a friendly amendment, Chair.
Okay, so we have a motion proposed and seconded for bringing our stock up to 10. I think we need to figure out the exact variance in 3x6 and 3x3s. I think, Ken, are you happy to amend yours to have the clerk, what's the word, ask about this before ordering through the Facebook group?
I am indeed.
Delegate authority, Tom.
Yes,
Yeah,
that one.
delegate authority.
I'm losing my
Quite happy
words.
to do that.
Okay. We'll go to the vote on this then. Is there anyone sort of dissenting, wanting to say no, or indeed offer support if you really want to?
I don't want to say no, but just confirm that we'll top up to 10, providing the price is right. Yeah, we're going to get the price first, and Joe's going to let us know what that is.
Yeah.
Happy with that.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. We've had some discussion on whether we need a logo. I think if we're going ahead with this, we are spending other people's money, as it were. Does anybody else have any thoughts on whether the logo really is necessary?
Sorry, I'm really struggling to pick up what you say, Chris.
Is the logo needed? That's what his question was.
I mean, the suggestion from Ken, I think, was to logo them up.
That's what I mean.
Can I answer that? Yes, I think that the logo is useful. We often get requests to borrow the pop-ups, and they're a good identifier and free advertising. If somebody borrows one of our town council pop-ups with a logo on it. It's good advertising, free advertising for us, and it helps identify our property.
I accept that and concede, yes.
Thank you, Jen.
With that, is everyone happy? Is that a yes?
Yeah.
Nods all
Yeah.
around. Ken, you want to come back in quickly? You are muted. You're still muted, Ken. Or is it an old hand?
Yeah, no, I'm taking my hand down, I hope. It's not
Yeah.
showing on my screen anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I accept that. Thank you to everybody.
Okay. The other quick thing I wanted to mention from the GP minutes was we had a discussion about the works at Lecliff for Yorkshire Water. I know there's some people watching tonight's meeting wondering if there's any more about that. And I think we'll just note that the situation is unchanged as of yet. And we'll note that with the rest of the GP minutes. Is everyone happy with the minutes then, as they stand in the hall?
Yeah.
Yeah, nods all around,
Yeah.
thank you. Item 6 then, finance. First part of this is to confirm approval of payments made by the town clerk to the council since the last meeting of the council, and to delegate consent for payments to be made prior to the next meeting of the council. So does anyone spot any sort of wrongdoings in the figures? Any trips to the Bahamas or?
I'd have more of a tan.
Okay, well, I'll move that we delegate consent and the rest of the wording in this. Do you have a seconder for that? Thank you, Mike. Everyone happy with that? Nod your heads.
Yeah.
Anyone not happy with that, please speak up now. Okay, and the second part is to advise the town council that the grant has been received back from the Reynolds Centre. £2,500 was granted to the Reynolds Centre for a new projector, and this project has been put on hold, so the funds have been returned. And this part is to discuss reallocating these funds to the town centre improvements. So Councillor Whip, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. This is what I alluded to in moving the minutes of the General Purposes Committee. We had recommended that.
You've muted yourself. I don't know how. Press your space bar.
Well, I've got a cat on my keyboard. I could explain it. Sorry, I'm just moving it. We recommended this from General Purposes, and if I just share screen for a moment, there are a couple, well, there's more than a couple, but there's work on Fernley Avenue that's not currently included in the town square work, and that's the area next to the flagpole. The flagpole, the area immediately around the flagpole is going to be flagged, as we've discussed previously, and there's just about enough funding to replace these grotty concrete flags here, but it does need a little bit more. And also, if I can land on the right one, there's things like this tree pit, an old tree pit that that could do with finishing off, and there's bits and bats in that area. So the proposal is that without specifying X, Y, Z, that we reallocate that funding so that we can do additional works. And I mean, as it happens, I think all those additional works are in the Fernley Avenue area. But I mean, there is a longer list than just the 2 schemes that particular issues that I've showed you there. So that would be my proposal, that we reallocate that funding towards the public realm works in the town centre.
I'm perfectly happy to second that, David. Anyone want to come in on this? John?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was for a projector. I mean, will they not want it at some point in the future? Is this money that we can spend now and then have to give them back later on when they do eventually go ahead with it?
I mean, they can certainly reapply in the same way they did for the first amount, and we always have the grants budgeted on a yearly basis.
Okay, I just didn't want them to spend it.
If that answers that.
Yeah, I just didn't want to like use it now and then need it for when they do, you know, need it again. So that was
all. Jen.
Thank you, Chairman. I think it's a case of using and allocating what money we can to get a project finished, really, isn't it? I mean, I would really love to see the Renault Centre with the cinema up and running. At the moment, we're not in a position to do it, and I'd be happy for next year to, when we've got another allocation of money, to revisit that. But I think kind of we're in a position where we need to finish and to really make the town presentable for this coming year. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Is everyone happy with that then? Is anyone saying no to the reallocation? Don't feel pressured to say yes. Everyone nodding heads? Yeah, okay. I'll move on then. Item 7, completion of the external audit. Jo, this is your time to shine.
Right, so you know last year the auditor told us that we'd done something 3 days too late. Ready for this? This time we've done it 3 days too early. So the audit is past 100%, except for the fact that we approved it 3 days too early. But everything else was spot on, so I'm not concerned, and we can put it right next year.
No non-conformities at all.
No, it said the smaller authority has not approved the AGAR in accordance with the accounts and audit regulations since the approval of the annual government statement, section 1, took place prior to the year end. But the auditor, it's not our auditor this year, it's the auditor that we had last year, told us we did it too late. So brought it forward a week, and now they're saying we did it too early. So I will double check at the year end what date it needs to be approved on. But that were nothing else.
Thank you for that. Councillor Mills, is that same hand or old hand? Right, I'll move on then. Councillor Hartley.
Thank you, Chair. Can I ask the council congratulate the responsible financial officer for her work on the smooth passage of the audit, and record the council's thanks that everything went well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll certainly second that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So we are noting that. On to item 8 then, we've got dog area, Victory Park and Lecliff Park. So we didn't receive an official complaint. Pendle Council received an official complaint, which they have since forwarded to us because it pertains to our land. Jo, do you want to read that out?
Yeah, I just want to have to get on the screen. I was writing, sorry. Yes.
Obviously omitting any personal details.
Yeah, of course I will. Yeah, 1 second. So till 10. Anyone who's watching who's asking about the mugger, if anyone's seen the complaint, they should be on 4 till 10. So they're going to get someone to have a look tomorrow.
It's a perennial problem of the lights, is that one, isn't it?
Yeah, I emailed earlier because someone said they weren't coming on till 7 p.m. Right, okay. So complaint details. I'd like to raise a complaint regarding the new dog exercise area in Victory Park. The area is too small. Will become very dirty very quickly. It will scare my dog being trapped in with other dogs who may not be friendly. It's cruel to the animals, may encourage stress to dogs, just to name a few. I think it's really disappointing that you are going to fine us for exercising our well-behaved dogs. I have always cleaned up after my dog, and I will find it disappointing that you want to cage them in. No animals' rights here, is there? Resolution requested. Stop the fines if dogs are exercised off the lead elsewhere in Victory Park.
Councillor Whip, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Chairman. I think it's important to recognise that there are two issues here. The Town Council, several years ago, and memory tells me it goes back to 2015, we had requests from dog owners for fenced off dog areas, dog exercise areas, and we put one in up at Lecliff Park, which was reasonably well received. Usual issues of, very big dogs can jump over the wall or they jump over the fence, but I mean the intention is that they are for public use, not for people who are exercising extremely large dogs or anything like that. And similarly, that little dogs can get under the gates and stuff like that. But generally very well received. And so the Town Council started thinking about putting in a similar fenced off exercise area, which dog owners can use, as they will. Sorry, there's a bit of an echo coming.
I'll mute Jodie. I think the TV's on.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean that started quite separately to the Town Council. Pendle Council began consultation on public space protection orders, I think it is, and it was decided to exclude dogs from play areas. So part of Victory Park, dogs are not permitted because the play areas or the multi-use games area. And then I think the rationale that Pendle used was that anywhere where there was traffic, car parks and the like, driveways, that dogs should be required to be on lead. And similarly, in order to reduce the amount of dog muck that was being left on sports pitches, the further areas where dogs were required to be on leads was on sports pitches. And of course, that is almost all of Victory Park, because almost all of Victory Park are sports pitches. And then separately to that, Pendle Council, or a majority of councillors on Pendle Council, and not including myself and colleagues who were present in this meeting, but Pendle Council decided to get the private enforcement company, District Enforcement, to actually levy fixed penalty notices on people who were breaching those public space protection order rules. And all this has got conflated into discussion about the dog exercise area. Now, Barnoldswick Town Council has created a dog exercise area as a request of people exercising dogs, asking for a fenced off area where they could allow the dogs to exercise and they're not going to escape. So the fines, well, go and take that up with other councillors, because we certainly voted against having district enforcement coming in dishing out fines for dogs off leads. But in terms of the dog exercise area itself, which is the bit that Barnoldswick Town Council is responsible for, my understanding is that there is a little bit of further work to be carried out in terms of putting some mesh on the gates and something below the gates, so that that's a little bit more secure. I'm not sure if anything's going to be done about increasing the height of the fencing, because you know, it becomes a lot more intrusive. You know, if you've got like deer fencing, then I mean that's quite high, you know, 2 meters high, that sort of thing. So I, in terms of responding to the complaint, I think the town council should be very clear. The fines are not being imposed by Barnoldswick Town Council, and they be advised that that's an issue that Pendle Council have dealt with, and you know, district enforcement, the private enforcement company, are working at the behest of Pendle Council, and none of the people in this meeting voted in favour of that. It was done by others. So, you know, take your complaint to, you know, the people who actually brought this in. So that's my piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hartley.
Thank you, Chair. I support entirely what David said. The introduction of the PSPO, replacing the local bylaws, is the vehicle that really has caused quite a lot of problems. But going back in my memory, the idea of these original fenced off areas and the one in Lecliff Park wasn't as an exercise area as such, but as a dog training area. And the original concept was that if you had a new puppy or whatever that didn't yet understand the commands of heel and stay and the rest of it, the fenced off area was a good place to use it, because they couldn't get far enough away from the owner, rather than as an exercise area as such. So that the concept behind those fenced off areas was really as a dog training area where you could train your dog, your new dog, and they weren't really designed for older, well-established owner-pet relationships as an exercise unit in its own right. And again, as a general comment, Victory Park was designed and commissioned as a sports park for sporty type people, covering all the different kinds of sports that were popular at the time. And there are other parks within Barnoldswick, such as Lecliff, you know, which have a different kind of park designation as an open area. And so, you know, I fully support establishing a dog training area, which is what they were supposed to be. But I again echo what David has said. The responsibility for PSPOs and the enforcement of fines rests with a higher authority rather than Barnoldswick Town Council. And as such, yeah, it should be taken up with them. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Ken. Councillor Mills.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'd just like to echo both David and Ken's comments, really. I've viewed online the meeting that took place when that decision was made, and councillors from other parts of Pendle outvoted the councillors here. And, you know, we were trying to put the point across that we're trying to win the hearts and minds of people, rather than to have the direct enforcement and have this dogs on leads thing introduced. So, you know, the people that voted it in got quite a lot of applause for it from other parts of Pendle, but as a consequence, we're in this position where we are now. So, you know, we're trying to do our best for the people of Barnoldswick with what we've got. Thank you.
Councillor Whittingham.
If I may make a suggestion in response to Pendle Borough Council, responding to the complaint that we've got, can we suggest a middle way sort of type thing where the enforcement is for dog fouling rather than dogs on leads? That would mediate the issue for us, because we still have the dog pen for training. We still allow people to walk their dogs, but if they get caught fouling, then they get the fine, rather than caught walking your dog off a lead.
I think the issue with that is the PSPOs that replace the bylaws are what they can enforce with. That is the power of the district enforcement, and that's the guidelines that they operate under. And Pendle Council, as an authority, don't have the power to control what district enforcement fines people for. That because they're a private company, so they don't have the sway apart from what's written in the contract, such as 5% of your fines need to be dog fouling, which is ridiculously low in my opinion. But again, we were voted out of that. And other than what's in the contract, Pendle Council just don't have a say, which wasn't the case when they had their own enforcement officers, but there we go.
Then the whole situation needs reviewed, because somebody has control. In fairness, Barnoldswick Town Council is supposed to have control of the parks, yet we don't have control of the parks. That needs to be reviewed and taken care of.
Yeah, I've noticed the comment, David. I actually posted it in the chat for people to read.
I can't see the chat.
This isn't to do with this item though. I can come back to questions from the public at the end of the meeting if you want. Anyway, I think we got a request there to request Pendle Council for a review of the district enforcement. Does that have a seconder? Do we want to take that forward? Put an official request in from us to Pendle?
Yeah.
Chairman, I would support a request for district enforcement to be drummed out of the borough. I think that they are a blot on humanity, to be honest, and the way that they operate is persecuting people, and the way that they actually generate, you know, their operating expenses and profit is by fining more and more people. So yeah, I mean, you know, get rid of district enforcement. It's what I've wanted to do for the last 12 months and more. Unfortunately, there's a majority on Pendle Council who think that they're doing really good work and want to continue with them doing that, and extended the contract to cover the issues in parks, as well as the litter enforcement. But in terms of that enforcement activity, it does cover, you know, the littering does cover all public places. So that would include parks as well as, you know, on the highway and things like that. The public space protection orders themselves are reviewed every 3 years. So they've just been reviewed and come in as they stand now, and it's going to be at least another couple of years before they are reviewed further. So I don't think we're going to get any changes in terms of you know, the public space protection orders themselves, because it's a lengthy review and, you know, the legal requirements and the like. So I think we stuck with that.
So were you seconding Councillor Whittingham's proposal?
But
Yeah.
I would broaden it to say kick district enforcement out of Pendle, and, you know, make that request from Barnoldswick Town Council. We'll get it back on the agenda.
Yeah. Are you happy to accept that, Mike?
Chairman, yeah, I'm happy to amend my proposal to actually get rid of them altogether. No problem.
Okay. Does anyone want us not to do that? Speak up now. Nods all around. If yes, go for it. Yep. Okay, thank you. The second part of this item was to discuss making improvements to the area at Lecliff Park. We've had reports for a while now that the dogs are escaping under the gate hole. At the new one installed at Victory Park, although it's not completed yet, I think at least definitely by the end of next week, I've been talking to the engineer at Pendle who's overseeing the works. They should have completed it by then. And that includes a product called hexacrete, which is sort of concrete with grass growing through it, to be put underneath the gate holes at Victory Park to stop it eroding away, to raise the level of the ground underneath the gates, to then narrow the gap so little dogs can't get under. I mean, my proposal for the improvements at Lecliff is to replicate that, get some contractors in, lay it down. Hopefully that will remedy the problem. So I think order tonight is to get Joe to find some quotes, whether to delegate now and consult the council on if the quotes are okay, or to come back at a later meeting, maybe GP. Depends on what you guys think. Yeah, Councillor Whip.
Could I just ask, Chairman, if Pendle Council would pick up part of the tab? You know, there is a budget within the Borough Council for works in parks, and that's, you know, has helped pay for the works down at Victory Park, and there's further work as well. So, I mean, I'm assuming it's not going to be a great deal of money to put a bit of surfacing in at the entrances at Lecliff, but you know, if it was 50-50, it's not going to make a big dent in the town council's budget.
Anyone else? Marjorie, you haven't come in for a while. You got any views? Or Geordie? You're muted, Marjorie.
I'd second what David said about going to Pendle Council to ask them to put some money in towards it, because it wouldn't hurt. They can only say no.
Yeah, I agree, Chairman.
Okay. Everyone happy to that to go ahead then? Nods all around, thumbs up from Chris. That's great, thank you.
Yeah.
Is there any other improvements people want to make to the dog areas? We could buy like a pamper station or a dog shower. Nope. Okay.
Don't give them ideas.
Chairman,
Yeah.
can I just come in? Can I ask about the drainage? People have been commenting about how boggy the Victory Park dog area can possibly be in the bad weather.
Right.
And have you got any information on that?
Yeah, they're basing their assumptions on what it was like, which was very boggy. As if people remember, there was actually a pond there. I mean, that all stemmed from a faulty silt catcher from the rugby pitch drainage, which had a leak in the bottom. So all the water that was draining off the rugby pitch came out from underneath this silt catcher, down the embankment and into the area that is now the dog training exercise area. That was remedied. They've screened that, so now with concrete, so now it doesn't leak. So it no longer has the flow coming onto the site. There's the screening. It was basically just draining away from the bottom of there, not even going into the outlets. So we're thankful to Pendle's engineer for fixing that and finding out what was wrong. And then in addition to that, so the major inflow of water to that area has now been solved. So the only thing now is the rain, and to solve that, there's a new French drain that goes along the length of the site. That takes the water from rainfall, sends it downstream, which overall will have a big effect on the bogginess of it. And it is to a size that if it is a problem next year, the year after, a contractor can always come in, put some spurs off of that French drain, and I can't remember what the technical term is, but have more cross drainage across it, which would improve things further. But the thinking was, and this is from a professional draining engineer, that wasn't necessary. And this saves us a lot of money. And I took his advice on that. And we'll see very soon. But I think what I have to say to people who say it's going to be a boggy mess, oh God, is just wait a while and see, because I think it will be much better than what it was.
Thank you, Chairman.
I can't comment on the bogginess of the Lecliff one, which is considerably worse. But people haven't complained to us about that, and no one's had a lame foot on a dog from illness or anything, which is a concern for the Victory Park one, but it's not happened yet. So, yeah. Is everyone happy with dog exercise area? Yep. Okay. Item 9 then, grant application. We've received a grant from the junior football club. They're wanting a sum of money to help improve their fence. We have had discussions about this on the Facebook group, which we'll talk about now. I think David's wanted to come in about this. But basically, we've got the cricket club who's also wanting to put a fence in. We've got a capital project scheme to improve a retaining wall, which is crumbling next to the cricket club, which we've had prior agreement of this council for. And the idea is to roll all that in together, get some economies of scale, and see where we go from there. So I'm going to let David come in now. You're muted. Fraser 2020. You're still muted. Just click your space bar. Oh no, you can't. You're still muted.
I'm not muted now, but I couldn't without maybe sharing the screen. With me sharing the screen, I couldn't get to the bit that unmuted me, if that makes sense. So I'll put the screen share back on, which is that's part of the junior football club, the old Park Rovers fencing, which is the subject of the grant application tonight. And you know, clearly that needs to be done, and I'm very supportive of supporting the junior football club in getting a new fence on there. The sort of fence that they want to put up is like that the senior club have put on the alongside the path that runs down past the dog exercise area, and you know, by that rugby pitch part of the park. So it will look very good. And as you mentioned, Chairman, we've had discussions with people at the junior football club. As a consequence of that, they've put a grant application in, and effectively they're looking for the town council to pay half the cost. As I say, very supportive of that. Subsequently, I'm just trying to choose the right picture. I think it's that one. There's been discussions with the cricket club, and the cricket club were approached because as a town council, we are keen to sort out the problems in the car park area next to the southern end of the senior football club, which is at the other side of this rather rickety concrete panel fence that the cricket club have in just inside their gates there. And the problem here is that, well, if I call it a retaining structure, that's a bit of a misnomer because it isn't retaining very much. But this retaining structure is giving way, and the car park at the other side is sinking, and we need to address that. And a previous resolution of the town council was to approach the cricket club to see whether they would support having a decent fence on top of this area if we could get the retaining structure sorted out, which is the responsibility of the town council. So the scheme that we've got for here includes taking this grotty concrete fencing down, putting a new retaining structure in, and repairing the car park on the opposite side of it, and then having a similar secure fence as we've just been talking about for the junior club and the one that the senior club has put up. And in discussion with the cricket club, Chairman, yourself and myself met a representative, and we discussed the options for putting a new fence on the boundary of the cricket club, either at the bottom, which I think the cricket club would prefer, or the top of this little slope between the football pitch level and the cricket ground level. I mean, this is a good wildlife corridor, and there is some hedging that's been planted in here a couple of years ago, but that could be reinforced. So there's a potential for having a new fence, a decent hedge wildlife corridor across here, and I'm just trying to find the other picture. I think that's it actually. There is another picture looking at it from the other side, but the upshot of all that, as you outlined in the introduction, is to have further discussions with a view to the town council getting work carried out, and the respective sports clubs, the junior football club and the cricket club, contributing towards the cost of that work, which we think will be less expensive for the clubs, and so they get better value for money, less expense, and from a town council perspective and from a general public perspective. I'm just going to stop that phone, he says. Not very successfully, I'm afraid. So we would have, somebody else has answered it, we would have a decent fence, everything will look in keeping, and there's hopefully a bit of a saving that everybody would benefit from, both the town council and everybody else. It'll take a bit of pulling together, because we'll need to get the contract sorted out for the the retaining structure and that little bit of car park, and then you know, the fencing is going to have to follow on from that, but you know, it would need to be quite seamless. So I think the resolution is something on the order of welcoming the application from the Junior Football Club, supporting the working principle for Joe, the clerk, to work with both of the sports clubs concerned and Pendle Council, who will be contributing towards at least part of this scheme, and for us to delegate authority to the General Purposes Committee, which I think is due to meet in January, but I'm not absolutely certain just what that is. Well, we just need to get it going, because I think the sports clubs would want to get the work done. Certainly, if we're looking to get it done in connection with the repairs to the car park and the retaining wall, we need to get that done as soon as. So, you know, we need to pull it all together. So, delegate authority subject to consultation, and you know, let's hope that we can all of us work together and get a really good scheme that does what everybody's wanting. So I would move that. I'm sorry to travel on a bit.
Thank you, David. Ken, you got your hand up?
Thank you, Chair. In principle, I support everything that David has said there. I think that both the football club and the cricket club do tremendous outreach work towards the younger people in our town, and have considerable, or do in fact, influence generally public health and provide facilities that are vital for the young people within the town. I support the grant application, particularly for the football club, and the work for the cricket club. One other function that those two clubs do perform is fundamentally they are ambassadors for Barnoldswick, and the number of visitors that come to watch home football games, home cricket games, bringing people in from all over the northwest. If we present them a shabby set of conditions, it doesn't say much for Barnoldswick, and therefore, you know, there is another dimension to having a visibly attractive boundary that the clubs get an unknown advantage from. I support the grant application. However, having said that, I'm going to make my perennial plea every year when the football club approaches us cap in hand for funding, and that is to remind them that they're part of the English Football League, which gets ginormous amounts of funding, obscene amounts of funding from advertising nationally, and doesn't pass it down to the grassroots club at the level that it really ought to be. In other words, it stays with the top-notch clubs paying obscene salaries to professional footballers instead of feeding the money down to the grassroots clubs that are their lifeblood. I support everything that David said in terms of getting the work done, but I just want to throw in my two pence that I think that the Football League itself should be doing a hell of a sight more for grassroots football than what it is. Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks, Ken. David, you've got your hand up again.
It was just to come back on Ken's comment there and thank him for his support. In terms of the junior football club, I'm not just sure the interrelationship between that and the senior club. I mean, I thought they were all Barlick Town, but you know, there's clearly, you know, different entities within the Barlick Town Football Club, and so I'm not quite sure how well the junior section accesses any funding that might be going, if there is any funding going from those, wider football empires that there might be nationally. And I think, they really do work very hard to improve the ground, and they're certainly showing willing in terms of wanting to do this job. So I don't think Ken was suggesting at all that this should be any hindrance to doing it. I think it was just wanting to express his disquiet that the riches of the football world do not percolate down to the kiddlywinks kicking balls about down Victory Park very much.
Thank you, Chair. No, I'm 100% behind supporting this.
Thanks. David, do you want to just put that picture you showed up last back up? There's just another angle to this works. David mentioned earlier about the wildlife corridor. This stretch between the cricket and the football ground, as well as the fence line further down, is a wildlife corridor right through the park. In this picture here, we're discussing using the tree stumps and the old concrete fence line there to create a dead hedge, in addition to the live hedge, which is planted further up. The representative we met with seemed very supportive at the time for a dead hedge. I mean, I'm not proposing we set it as a condition, but as part of the works, I very much like to look at getting something worked in like that. Dead hedges provide great habitat. They also provide the impenetrative barrier that a fence would provide anyway, for dogs and large game or whatever. I doubt we'd be getting any large game there anyway. The other second half of that is I've expressed a view that the fence line next to the junior football club is a great site for a hedge line down that length. I hope he's putting one up now. So on the park side of that fence line, having a hedge planted along that length to provide a habitat corridor from the wheelchair walk area to the one adjacent to the cricket club, reaching right up to the rugby club side. And I would like that to be worked into the new fence being put in, so it goes in front of it. Whether that could be planted this planting season or not is yet to be seen. It depends how quickly we can get the gears going. But obviously I'd like the club support in the planting schemes that could go ahead. Definitely. Jane, you've got your hand up there.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I really like the idea of these wildlife corridors. I think if at all possible, we need to be looking at that and trying to get joining up these wildlife corridors, as right through Barnoldswick if at all possible. So, I'd be happy to support that as well. Thanks.
Is there anyone else? Emma, you've been quiet.
I'm always quiet. No, I'm happy with that.
Okay. So is everyone, I think we've got a clear idea of what we want from that. Everyone happy to go ahead with that plan? We're not accepting the grant at the moment, although sort of the in-kind is still there in a way. But obviously the football club, we've had discussions with them and they know this was coming. So is anyone absolutely opposed to this? Shock and horror? Absolutely not. No, everyone happy, heads nodding.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's good, thank you. Oh, now we come on to the exciting item that everyone's been waiting for. Item 10, to receive applications for co-opting 2 town councillors. Now, everyone here has received a pack. This is really useful, isn't it? Go on, David. So basically, what we're going to do to try and smooth things along and not take too much time up is we're going to use a type of instant runoff voting, also known as a single transferable vote. So what the pack asks you to do, I can't show you this, it keeps going invisible, is to rank the applicants 1 to 7 in the order that you would prefer them to be elected. So say you really liked applicant A, you absolutely want them to get in, you put them as your first choice. If and the person you want the least goes as your 7th. And then there's a bit of a process that Joe needs to do to then count those votes up to get the results there. I haven't actually filled in my ranks yet. I don't know if you guys have. No.
Yeah. Chairman.
I mean, I'm not sure how much people want to discuss the applicants, if at all, before we go into handing in our votes to Joe tonight. I'm just going to give people an opportunity to fill out the 1 to 7. I need to do mine.
Just like to point out, I'm not a mathematical genius. I have an app to work it out on. I was attempting to do it manually.
I like it.
It's not that complicated, but obviously it's the first time Joe's doing this, so she's not going to be clued up on it completely.
It's not the first time I've done it. We just did it different last time.
Yeah.
But it's so clever. I'm well impressed.
Doesn't
take a lot.
Okay, so Joe, I think you've got an order that you want to get people's votes in, is that correct?
Yeah, you are first.
Okay. So I have, my first choice is applicant A. My second choice is applicant E. My third choice is applicant G. My fourth choice is applicant B. Fifth is D. Sixth is C. And 7th is F. Have you got all that?
A, E, G. No, I want to keep going through them. I'll do it and then, oh, yeah, I know I've written them down. B, fifth is D, C, and F. Correct. Right, you're in.
Okay. Next on the list,
David.
Joe, how do you want them? Do you want me to say, you know?
You could just go A, C, D, like that. Just me.
Okay. You ready then?
Yeah, I'm ready.
A.
Yep.
G. E. B. D. C. F.
Thank you. And then it's Marjorie next.
Are you ready?
I will be just 2 seconds. I've got 2 more to put in and then I'm ready. C and F. Ready, Marjorie?
Applicant A first. Applicant C second. Applicant B 6. Applicant D 4. Applicant E 7. applicant F5, applicant G3.
So B was 6.
B was 6, yeah.
Yeah, lovely, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just to confuse things, give them in a different order.
I know.
Keeps you on your toes, doesn't it?
6, B, 7.
You realise that the returning officers or the scrutineers will be poring all over this to ensure that there hasn't been any Trumpian tactics or
That's why I'm handwriting
erroneous
it as
voting.
well as doing it on the computer. There you go. Matt Whittingham, you're up.
Are you going to go in reverse order?
I'm going to go in reverse order and reverse alphabetical as well.
Oh, God.
Well, applicant A, 2. Applicant B, 1. Applicant C, 4. D, 7. E, 5. F, 6. G, 4.
Thank you. Who's your 3? Mike.
Sorry, I
Who's
was
3?
to scribble the numbers down because I hadn't filled this out before.
Got 2 4s.
Sorry, applicant C, 3.
Thank you. E5. X and D7. Okay, next one. My no. This is gonna bugger it up.
You, Joe, that.
Emma, next.
Okay, so A3,
Yeah.
B4, C1, D6, E5, F7 and G2.
Thank you. G2. And F4, 7. Okay, next person. Mr. Church. Councillor Church.
Right. A4.
Yeah.
B1.
Carry on, you've got to do all 7.
Yeah, sorry, I thought I was waiting for you.
Oh, no, sorry.
Right, C5. D6. E3. F7. G2.
Excellent, thank you.
Sunk my battleship.
Best joke all night.
I can't even hear. C is 5. 6 and F is 7. Right, okay. John.
I'll just give you mine in the order that they come. So G, D, A, C.
Slow down a bit.
Oh, I thought you were writing them down. G, D.
D1.
Well, yeah, they're in order, 1 to 7. Yeah. So G1.
G1.
Yeah. The next one's 2. Yeah. D, A, C, F, B, E.
5 is B. 7 is P. Okay, Jodie.
A1, B2, C4, D5, E6, F7, G3.
C, D, E, F. Next one, Ken. Oh, he's not there. Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's here. It is here really. Straightforward A through G. A3, B1, C6, D5, E4, F7, G2.
Thank you. C and F. And then Jane, last but not least.
Thanks, Joe. Which is the easiest way for you to input them? Do you want applicant?
Doesn't matter, I'm writing them down first, so it makes no difference. If you do A through to G and just give me the ranking.
Right, okay. So applicant A is 1. Applicant B is 3. Applicant C is 5. Applicant D is 6.
Yep.
Applicant E is 4. Applicant F is 7. And applicant G is 2.
Thank you. G, 2B. Is C, D, so Tom, do you want me to read through it all, or do you want to?
Marjorie voted.
That's it. Mike Pierce has been. No, yeah, Marjorie voted 3rd.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
We've taken 10 lots of votes, and there are 10 people in the meeting at the minute because we've got 2 lots of apologies. Okay, so
I'm gonna first check the table at the top to see if it is the same as what you've written down, just to make sure there's no errors in your input.
So you know your A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the third thing down. Do you have 4, 3, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
So it says candidate 7, seats 2, votes 10, quota equals 3.34.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got raw votes, then you've got round 1 votes, and then the next.
Just read it through from the top, and it'll explain the process on the way, won't it?
Do you want me to read every result?
Is it not a total score, and then the lowest 2 scores are the winners, so to speak?
It kicks off the ones that don't get many, and then Joe can read it out.
Well, it's a simple sum, and then
yeah. So applicant A for the round 1 votes, applicant A got 4. They've got 5.
Have you inputted it right? You can check at that table at the top.
How can I change it?
You need to start it over again.
No, you are having me on.
Well,
it's an easy thing to do because all it's done is in vote 1, the person you voted first, it's put in none instead of 1.
Oh.
So applicant A was the clear winner anyway.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Right. Okay. So in the first round of voting for the first co-opted seat, applicant A got 5 votes, applicant B got 3 first place positions, C got 1, D got 0, E got 1, F got 0, and G got 1. Most votes currently held by candidate A. Yeah.
Yeah.
number of candidates, the greatest number of votes is 1, so that's carried through. So applicant A is your first co-opted member of the council. Round 2 votes and everything's gone in, so that's fine. There's no discrepancy. Applicant A got 0, applicant B got 3.16, applicant C got 1.16, applicant D got 0, applicant E got 1, applicant F got 0, and applicant G got 1.33. The fewest votes were won by 1. E is eliminated because it wasn't a clear majority, and you've got to get over 3.34. It's taken the one with the least votes out. So when that's been put back through again, applicant C has been eliminated, so that a 4th vote went through, and on that, applicant G exceeded the quota and is elected. So you've got applicant A and applicant G are your first and second co-optees.
Joe, just
Tom, does
say
yours agree?
for me, please.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It was
Can you
very,
say that-
very, very close between applicant B and applicant G. Very close.
What was applicant G again?
3.495. I can screenshot it all and send it through to everybody.
Right, nice.
Yeah, if you can print the page and send it through as a PDF on email.
Yeah.
Really, really complicated.
It was what it does it every time. If somebody hasn't got a majority, it will take out the person who's got the least votes, and then in effect that gets redistributed.
Chairman, could Joe share the voting on screen?
It's on my computer and I'm on my iPad.
Do you want to
Okay.
print it as a PDF, send that through to my email, and then I can share the screen of that?
Right, okay. I'm gonna have to copy and paste because there's no option on this thing to do. 1 minute.
Yeah.
Tom, it's coming through as a on your messenger. Do you want to try and get it off there?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, so this uses the weighted inclusive Gregory method for reallocating surplus votes. And the quota is calculated by the number of votes divided by number of seats plus 1, rounded up to 2 decimal places. And that's the sort of standard for the single transferable vote method. Have I got it? I haven't received it yet from you, Joe. Oh, you've pasted it as text. Oh God, no. Print the page as a PDF.
You can't. There isn't the option.
Control P.
Save as, Joe. Save as PDF.
Do a control it out into a PDF onto a Word.
Save as.
Save as where?
Just right click and click print on the page.
Right. Yeah.
And then select, and underneath the printer setting, there should be save as PDF.
Save as, and then drop down list, it's PDF.
Yeah.
Right, so copy the page or just
No.
what?
No. Go to File.
File. There ain't one.
Save as.
Right, give me a minute. I'll send it through to you. I'm going to find a one that's applicable. You need to see what I'm on to understand it doesn't work.
You're on Excel.
No,
Oh.
it's an app.
Can you take a screenshot, Joe, of it? Any chance?
I am.
Just can you just click
Give me a
Control
minute.
P on your keyboard on the page?
No, I'm. Take me 2 seconds and I'll have it for you. Tom, it's coming through on your emails. Yeah, would that work?
Can we have Rudolph Giuliani arbitrating this, please?
Right, 1 minute. That's the art class leaving. Sorry.
Do they know how to print a page?
Didn't look like they did. No,
You can run after them.
I'm not.
They could sketch it and show us.
Yeah, that they were drawing cockerels. What date time is it? 1846. Right, Tom, you should have, sorry for the picture you just had.
Where did you send it to?
Tom, Argus something or other.
Yeah, my email. Okay. Hasn't come through yet. Oh, there it is. Oh, no, I've just got the ranking sheet for co-option. I think you sent the wrong thing.
I can give up. My iPad's dying because it must use loads being in this because it was full. Right. File. Save as. Computer. Full council. Candidates results. It's the, oh, I know it is. Right, they go.
Have it now then. Yeah. Yeah, okay, I've got it now. Yeah. So I'll share screens. Okay, so this is the votes. This none here is actually A, as Joe said. That was an error in inputting. So you can check these votes here against the ones that were read out. Round one, every vote is valued at 1. This is the tally. A4, B3, C1, D0, E1, F0, G1. A is actually 5, as I said. That none is actually an A. The quarter is the number of votes divided by number of seats plus 1. And that is that 3.34. So a candidate over 3.34 is then co-opted on. So A passes that, which it says in this text here. So now, because of the seat remaining, the surplus is reallocated. So this is that, as I was saying, the weighted inclusive Gregory method then reallocates the votes from A to the other candidates. So these now have different vote values. You can see A is 0 because they're already elected, B is 3.165, C is 1.165, D0, E1, F0, G 1.33. Fewest votes won by a candidate equals 1. Number of candidates with the fewest votes equals 1. E is then eliminated. So it calculates the vote values again for the new candidates that haven't been eliminated. B 3.165, C 1.165, D0, E0, F0, G 2.33. Again, nobody's meted the quota, so the results are reallocated again. And you end up, it's just B versus G. B has 3.165 and G has 3.495. G beats the quarter of the 3.34 value. There we go, 3.495, which does beat the quarter, and G has succeeded that, so there's no more seats to be filled, and the election is complete with A and G.
Still makes no sense.
That's the single transferable vote. So do we say who candidates A and G are? Yeah. So candidate A was Callum Hurd, and candidate G was Mick Strickland. So Joel will be sending co-option forms to them. Once they are signed, they are fully a full member of Barnoldswick Town Council until the next election, which is in a couple of years. Okay. Item 11 then, report from Buildings Working Group. I suppose we could have had this under committee working group reports, but it's separate. So we had a meeting of the Buildings Working Groups. That's composed of myself, Councillor David Whip, Councillor Marjorie Adams and Councillor Lindsay Gaskell. And Joe will have the minutes from that, which unfortunately it didn't happen before the agenda went out, so they weren't being able to be distributed. But that does have some recommendations that Joe's going to read out now.
Okay, so we had a meeting yesterday. Lindsay, Tom and David were in it. We're looking at storage at the lift exit, which we have discussed previously, but we just need agreement for it. No prices as yet, but it's just the principle of it. The electrics in the building currently aren't up to scratch. So last weekend I got rung out 3 times by the alarm company. People plugging things into the lounge is tripping the alarm. So that needs looking at. David suggested that we did it on a piecemeal basis, basically doing a bit at a time rather than doing a whole refit to the buildings. That's right, into David. Just now. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, my suggestion was if that is possible, it may be that, you know, the sort of main work needs to do in all at once, but if it's possible to pick areas off rather than, you know, having to, you know, rewire the whole of the building all at once, then that would make sense in terms of financing it.
This week we've had, I mean, I don't think anyone in this meeting uses the building to the extent that some others do. At the front door, there's a thing to put like the hall lights on that were broken, that's been repaired. And then when you use the ballroom, there was a cupboard that you went into that looked like you probably shouldn't be in there. That's just been redone and the switches and things have been simplified. It looked like a big circuit breaker before, so that's been sorted out. We've not finished the painting from COVID painting, so as you come in, if you go left after the toilets, down there's still yellow, so we said that we wanted to complete that just to get the hallway looking fresh. We discussed the boiler. The gas bill this month is £600 plus VAT for 1 month, so it's a little bit antiquated. So having heating that was controlled off site, that was my other phone calls this weekend. Friday night the heating had gone off. And then the person rung me when I was in bed Saturday morning to remind me to come in to put it right. We talked about blinds in the lounge. They need putting in just to sort of make it a little bit warmer, maybe deaden some of the sound because the floor's wooden, so it's quite echoey. Chairs, we've had previous agreement to buy the chairs. They didn't come in stock till December, and then I was reminded it is December. This year's just gone a bit mental. So I'm going to chase the company about that. Tom's priced up putting internet in the rooms that we currently rent out. It'll be about up to £500 to install, and it was going to make my office and Giz and Brian's as private and then a public in the rest of the building. We discussed looking at the lease for the basement. They've not had any increases for a number of years, so we need to relook at that because it's been on like a rolling thing, so we thought they were coming out, but they're still there. Lindsay wanted some more storage for a craft class, but we're not sure how that's going to be done, so we need to have a bit more of a discussion with her. And then we had a discussion about the public toilets on Fernley. The guttering needs doing because it's leaking at the minute. So that was the top and bottom of the whole interview, the whole thing.
I'll propose that we agree to, in principle, all those works that were discussed by the working group. Did you mention the networking stuff, Joe?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Sorry.
It costs about up to £500 to put into the ballroom. Like at the minute, there's an art class in and she wanted to be able to use the internet to demonstrate something to him. At the minute, I hadn't realised it won't stretch up there. So
that's for new Wi-Fi, to make a public Wi-Fi network in the building, as well as a private LAN for the offices to use. That's separate from that public Wi-Fi.
Chairman, as far as the heating issues are concerned, we suggested having some more sophisticated controls that might allow remote remote controls. The wider issue is if the boiler is getting geriatric, and I mean there have been occasions when it's been out of commission and they've had to get parts and things like that. I mean that could be quite a substantial expense, and there might be a requirement to look at the whole of the system around the building, not just the boiler, and that would be very disruptive. So again, looking at a piecemeal approach might be the best way forward, but I think we'd have to take advice from heating engineers as to what's possible and what's sensible, and look at the most cost-effective ways of dealing with that.
Yeah, Councillor Mills, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Chairman. We do have a budget for the Civic Hall, do we not, for sort of ongoing costs like this? So presumably we'll have enough money in the budget to cover whatever needs doing on a piecemeal thing, but I'm happy to get quotes in, for the look at the boiler and things like that if needed. Thank you.
Anyone else want to come in? Everyone happy for those to go ahead? Things that we've costed for already to just get on with, and the things that haven't been costed, agree in principle, bring quotes back to a future meeting.
Chairman, just to say, prompted by Jane's question there, yes, there is something of a budget, but the availability of finance within the current year, given that our income has been a lot less, we might not have sufficient to do work all in this financial year. It's going to have to be planned out over a period, certainly into next financial year and perhaps even beyond.
Yeah, I think certainly for a replacement boiler, that'd be a sort of new financial year budget concern rather than a find money for it now kind of thing. Luckily, we're not at that point in emergency now. So anyway, okay. So if there's no one disagreeing with that, everyone's in favour. Everyone's nodding. Before we go on to,
we got the second grant. I
Sorry?
don't think it's the Pendleborough Council grants for COVID. We got the initial 10,000. We got the second one, so 1,334, I think it was. Just to let you know that we applied for it and got it, so that was good.
Yeah, that'll cover the lost rent for this year. Not really any improvements in the future, but there we go.
Chairman, can I just come in again? Sorry.
Yeah.
Just on that boiler thing, do LCC provide any funding for that boiler? Do they share any sort of costs with that?
They have their own.
Oh, they have their own. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
There's two systems.
Yeah, I think in the future, if we were to get a new one, I'd want a dual boiler setup where they both do all of it, but you just have like a backup. And yeah, we'll see, won't we? Before we go on to item 12, correspondence, items for information, I would like to dodge back to the open forum because we've had a couple of questions from members of the public during the meeting. that maybe weren't present at the beginning to ask their questions then. So I think I'll read them out one by one and have the discussions between each question. Does that work for everyone? Yeah. So the first one is, could pop-ups be used to encourage community groups to have publicity events / publicity days? Signed, Hugh Lawrence. And I think he's referring there to the additional pop-ups that we're purchasing, whether we could have a more active scheme for renting them out or lending them to charity groups in the area. Currently, they need to apply to a full council meeting. We give consent then, but that can be pretty onerous and the timescales might not work. I mean, I could see a better system being created if people are up for that. Anyone want to come in on this? Mike?
I do like the idea, Chairman. Obviously, when situation permits such events, then yeah, the idea is a good one.
Tom, can I say something? The
Yeah.
system was put in place for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, the reason for not having a free-for-all was we didn't want our stuff to be damaged. So when we had it come to full council, we issued our support in setting them up and taking them down as well. People familiar with the equipment so they don't break. I think that has to be worked out somehow, as well as the transportation too.
It would need agreement from whoever obviously is using it to take care of it, and failure to take care of it will result in them replacing it, clearly.
Yeah. I think I'd propose to agree in principle to a scheme to be written up with a clear process, an application process for the use of, and a clear decision-making policy around that, and to bring that to a future meeting of the town council, Joe, to write something up.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
second that, Chairman.
Okay, I think everyone's happy with that. No one else want to come in? No. Okay. The second one was by Callum Hurd, who's our new co-opted councillor. Could the area inside the cenotaph get professionally cleaned and tidied up? I assume he means power washing as the major part of that for the flags. To answer some of that, Councillor Whip and I have a plan. Well, we attempted to put some wire around to hold the rosettes, not rosettes, the poppies in place. Unfortunately, the plastic on the back of them was too weak; it broke in the wind. So we're planning to put some holes in with whatever makes holes and fix them better, which will stop them blowing about. Does anyone else want to come in for the additional cleaning works? Jen?
Just to suggest, I can't remember. I think we might already have asked Pendle to do some power washing, but if we haven't, to ask Pendle to do that.
Okay. Jane Mills, you've got your hand up first.
Thank you, Chairman. I think it just really, it's what is being asked for. And we're talking about being tidied up with like fallen branches, or is it just the power washing? Do we need to have a look at it and then go from there, really? Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Hartley.
Thank you, Chair. Just a reminder, basically, that the area around the cenotaph and the cenotaph itself are under the control of the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, and the upkeep of those is delegated to Pendle Borough Council. Although we do work around there, it's standard procedure for anyone responsible for any of the war graves to do a pre-Remembrance Day inspection of the areas. And that has often in the past resulted in power washing our cenotaph, particularly because of the overhanging trees. So there is a system in place, but it's just a warning and recognition that whatever we do around that area must be in agreement with the Commonwealth War Graves Commission and Pendleborough Council, who are charged with their upkeep.
Okay, I think it was David's suggestion to request Pendle Council to do the cleaning of it. John, you had your hand up.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that I've seen that the paving around the toilets gets power washed every so often. I just thought to see if whoever arranges that to see that adding that area into that particular next room. That was all.
Yeah, the area around the toilets was cleaned because the toilets are owned by the council, us town council, so that was under our remit. And that was organised by Joe. Thank you, Joe. Otherwise, yeah, the cenotaph, as Ken said, is Pendle Council's. And David, I think you're wanting to come back in.
Yeah, just to say, I mean, Ken mentions the Commonwealth War Graves Commission there, but I've never seen them putting their hand in the pocket and doing anything for our war memorial area. So I'd be interested to learn more about that. Certainly when we moved the war memorial from Lecliff Park down to its current location, there wasn't any funding from that source. And similarly, when we did all the work in 2012 with the new entrance, the additional plaques, and the cleaning of the monument itself, that there wasn't any contribution from that source. So if there is funding available, I think we should certainly make use of it. I think it's important to recognise that all the soft landscaping is carried out by Barnoldswick in Bloom volunteers, and the current landscaping scheme was drawn up by John Shaw a few years ago, very meticulously drawn up, so that different aspects of remembrance were incorporated into that, and certainly the Bloom volunteers did do quite a bit of work in the run-up to Remembrance Sunday in that area, and the Pendles Parks people came along a couple of days before Remembrance Sunday, did some work in terms of removing summer bedding out of the barrels so that the crosses could go in, and then came on the morning of Remembrance Sunday to ensure that all the leaves were blown away. So I think there is a lot of regular care and attention, and perhaps it is the power washing that's needed. I think within Pendle Council, when it comes to the power washing, there are different parts of the council responsible for different areas. So, for instance, there's a lady called Sandra who does the works within the car park area, and recently she's organised the new lighting that's been put in there, and then the bit between the car park and Fernley Avenue is looked after by a different Pendle Council official who has a budget for town centres. And then the War Memorial area itself, it's yet another different person within Pendle Council. So I know that the two people for the car park and for the Fernley Avenue have both agreed to do power washing on their bits. I just can't remember if the War Memorial itself has been sorted out or not. But if we ask the question, I'm sure it will be.
Okay, I think we got a satisfactory answer there. Two or maybe even three rolled into one here. Who are the councillor applicants? What is the convention of the names being known now is the first half. I mean, to answer that, it's because the applicants didn't give their express consent for their publicly identifiable information to be made public. So therefore, that falls under GDPR, and we can't be sharing their personal information online, or indeed person to person. So we decided that we shouldn't say the names in the meeting, so we used generic names. I think Joe, you want to come in?
If anyone wants to know after the meeting what applicant they were, I can let them personally know. If it's somebody who's applied, then I will let them know where they were. So if they want to know what votes they got or whatever else.
That was the second part of.
Oh, is it? Sorry.
Of the question built into there. Thank you for answering it.
But if anyone make, because one of them has, so so there you go.
Yeah. So I mean, the difference here is this wasn't a public election. You know, the applicants didn't apply to the returning officer at Pendle. It wasn't a public vote, it was a co-option. Different rules apply. The third part is, would it be possible for a co-option process to include provision that applicants put their names forward publicly? And to that I say, absolutely. I think it was a bit of an oversight. We could have put in a tick box and say, you know, I expressly give my consent for my name and address to be made public. We didn't, no one picked up on it at the meeting where we formally adopted the town council application, which maybe some of us should have done, but you know, that's hindsight, isn't it? And in the future we could change that.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's all from public questions. Anyone else want to come in? Nope. Okay. Item 12 then, correspondence / items for information. Joe, have you got any correspondence?
Nope, nothing at all.
Awesome. Right. It's not too much past 9. I'll say thank you all for coming. The meeting is now closed. Wish you all a safe journey to the kitchen or the bathroom or wherever you need to go now. And good night. Thank you all for watching from home. I hope you enjoyed.
Safe and peaceful Christmas, everybody.
Thank you, Chairman. Good night.
Thank you, Tom.
Good night.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.